Recently, I stumbled on a post that's been circulating Reddit and Twitter. In the post, a user describes their issues with finding a new Flutter job after being laid off. They mention it's nearly impossible to find Flutter jobs, lamenting the fact that they even learned Flutter in the first place. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth after this post has become viral, with many people making fun of Flutter and the whole entire Flutter ecosystem. But I got something I want to say to you. It's a spicy little nugget of a hot take, and it goes something like this. Flutter ain't bad. In fact, I think Flutter's pretty cool. And to explain why I feel this way, I want to share with you a little story. So sit back, relax, and get comfy. Now, I've worked on and off as a freelance web dev consultant for pretty much my whole career. Through my time as a consultant, I've met tons of people that I've kept in touch with over the years. One day, one of these people reached out to me about a project his friends were working on. His friends were trying to make an MVP, or minimally viable product. This MVP was a game meant to assess bilingual kids on their reading and comprehension skills in different languages. If they made a good MVP and demonstrated its usefulness, they would receive grant money and continue refining the product. This sounded like an excellent opportunity, but there was one catch. It had to be in iOS. Now, I had never written a mobile app before, so I had no idea what writing an iOS app would take. Either way, I took the job and began researching. Obviously, the first place I looked was React Native, but it seemed a little too daunting for me. Most of the guides recommended you write some platform-specific code here and there, and I just didn't think I had the time and ability to learn multiple languages to create an MVP. Mind you, this was a handful of years ago, and things may have gotten better with React Native, but at the time, it just seemed a little too complicated. So then I checked out Flutter, and immediately I liked what it had to offer. With Flutter, the promise was that you never had to write platform-specific code due to how the framework renders its widgets. Essentially, Flutter uses the platform's native renderer to render widgets natively, instead of using a bridge between JavaScript and the native operating system. It also had a much simpler widget style system. Essentially, you could choose between Cupertino or Material if you're using iOS or Android respectively, and all styles were already built in. You really just needed to change some colors and a global theme to make things feel a bit more custom. I also loved the look of the Dart language. I like to think of Dart as a much nicer looking TypeScript because it looks a lot like JavaScript and it has built-in types, but the syntax just feels a little friendlier to me. So to make a long story short, I loved how Dart looked and Flutter seemed interesting, so I dove in and started working on the application. And as it turns out, I finished the application on time, only working part-time myself, and my clients were able to get more funding secured, and they're still working on the application to this day. So that is my story with Flutter. Now, let's get back to that Reddit post I showed earlier. Do I think this person made a mistake by learning Flutter? Hell no. Think of it this way. Dart is very similar to TypeScript in both its concepts and its syntax. Flutter is a reactive framework. Think React. And widgets, although their syntax may look foreign, are very similar to components in React. Bottom line, if you became proficient with Flutter and Dart, you could easily translate those skills to React and TypeScript. Trust me, I've worked professionally with both technologies. And if you're a skilled programmer, no matter what you've learned and what frameworks you've invested your time into, you just became that much more well-rounded. Learning Flutter is not a mistake. It's amazing for MVPs and proof of concepts, and many companies use it to build out their apps. Anyways, if you like this video, feel free to subscribe. But hey, thanks nerds.